Sherry Williams, everyone. Thank you, Sherry, and our band. All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, 'tis the season, huh? What does that mean, 'tis the season? All right, well, 'tis the season for what? Well, I think when we say that, I think we mean 'tis the season for us to be peace, to be more loving, to be more generous. 'Tis the season for us to be the light. 'Tis the season for the best that is within us to come forward. And certainly, 'tis the season to be forgiving. Oh no, not that again. You know, every person has a different path in life. Everyone's journey through life is different. Everyone's journey back to God is different. But be clear, there is God for all of us, right? No matter what our path looks like, there is God for all of us. And what I notice so often is that it seems to speak to us in paradox. Like, well, you're here to be love, and what prevents you from being that is, those people you don't want to forgive. So the way you get to be more love is you got to do the forgive. It's like, oh, God, is it really this hard? Yeah, it is. Honest to God, it is. You know, because we teach in the science of mind that God, the infinite, the spirit that created the universe, is both impersonal and personal at the same time. I just read Dan Brown's new book, Origin. I don't know if any of you have read that or not. And he sort of looks at this whole idea of science and religion. I don't want to ruin it for you because I really enjoyed it. A lot of it takes place, most of it takes place in Spain, which was also very fun because most of the places that he describes in the book, I have been there. And when we do our church trip to Spain, we will go to all those places too. But you know, for us as students of the science of mind, every thought, every word, every deed is heard by the universe, is known, is understood, and responded to by the universe, right? So all of it, all of the energy that we put out, whether it's good energy or not so good energy, the universe takes it and responds to it in like kind. So remember this, in the science of mind, when we pray, where the change takes place, always is in us, right? We're not praying, to change God or God's opinion or what God is doing. That would, in fact, be a pretty small God if we could influence God that way. When we pray, we're praying for there to be a change in our consciousness, in our thinking, in our way of being in the world. You know, I think, we are in this process as we do our spiritual journey through life. We're in this process of learning how to manage the spirit that we are, how to manage our consciousness, to make what I'd say are wise spiritual investments, with our energy. So, in the New Testament, Jesus comes and he says, I bring you a new covenant, and the new covenant is love. Okay, great. That's it. I'm on board. I love that the new covenant is love. Because remember, most of the Old Testament is all about teaching these wild and crazy people God's law, that there is spiritual law. But now it's like, okay, you understand something about the law. Please understand now that there's a new covenant, and the new covenant is love. The gig is that we're supposed to be loving in the universe. Now, what's the obstacle to that? Well, it's really clear that the greatest obstacle to practicing forgiveness, the greatest obstacle to love is our not being able to practice the forgiveness. Because now think of it like this, that when we don't forgive, that takes our energy. The energy we need to live our life, the energy we need to heal, the energy we need to grow and evolve and become more, that unforgiveness sucks an enormous amount of energy out of the rest of our life. This is by far the hardest spiritual practice to master in the New Testament. Why? Because we all have a story. Everybody's got an investment. Everybody knows how we were done wrong to. I get it. But please know that everybody's got that. Everybody's got that, and we're all here to make progress with it. So more genuine love emerges in our life every single time we forgive. So one of the statements that's really been important to me on my path is from Rudolf Steiner. I don't know if you've read any of the work of Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner is the guy from Waldorf School fame and I can't even say it. Doesn't matter. He's written a million books. Anyway, his stuff is really, really great. He said, there are no opinions in the realm of truth. Wow, no opinions in the realm of truth. This means it's going to be really quiet at my house, okay? There are no opinions in the realm of truth. And so as I've worked with this over the years, one of the things I've come to realize is, again and again, I catch myself and I say, I don't need to have an opinion about this. I really don't need to have an opinion about this. I don't need to have an opinion about this person. I don't need to have an opinion about this situation. I don't need to have an opinion about it. That takes an enormous amount of energy and usually leads me into some form of unforgiveness because I get all judgy. You know? And so it's just easier to go with, I'm going to take the high road. I don't need to have an opinion about any of this. And yes, absolutely, my job, because it's come into my awareness, is to bless everyone involved, to know that God is at the center of each of those people's hearts, that they are loved by God. God doesn't look at them and say, you're right, this one's a real problem. I don't know what to do with them, you know? I mean, that is never, ever, ever the case because, you know, it absolutely is so. It is high spiritual truth that nobody has done anything wrong in terms of the evolution of their soul. For what they came to do in this life, everybody's doing exactly what they need to do for their soul to heal and grow and evolve and become more loving. And remember, there are no opinions in the realm of truth, so what I think about how they're doing has no business in the equation at all. It doesn't. That says more about me than it does about them. It's like I'm saying to the universe, you know, halt, stop with the good. Stop with the healing. I don't want any more blessings. Because my being real judgy over this person here, or this situation, or this person just walking in front of my car, or this person in the parking lot, person on the freeway, person in the bank, person at Trader Joe's. Oh my God, yes. My being all judgy about that is like my telling the universe, I will wait for my healing, I will wait for my prosperity and abundance, I will wait for my good, because I'm just getting so much juice out of being all judgy. Right? When I look at it under that microscope, I think, ooh, I really can't afford to be all judgy. I can't afford to be unforgiving because I want my life to get bigger and better so much that I'm willing to say, you know, I don't have an opinion about that. That's not my business. It does not concern me. It just doesn't concern. Now, I'm not saying that the things that are happening in the world around us don't concern us, because as students of science of mind, if something comes into our awareness, absolutely, we're supposed to lend our best consciousness to that. It's got my attention so that I will pray. It's got my attention so that I will send light and love and healing and know a truth that exists beyond the physical appearances of the world. Yes, that's why it's caught my attention. Absolutely. But I don't have to get all opinionated and judgy about it. Right? See, the inability to love and forgive, and I will say this, and this is just me, so if you don't like it after church, again, feel free to talk to Reverend Mark LaPonce. But I'm going to tell you that our current inability to love and forgive and greed have created the society that we live in. Yeah, we have. And there's no blame on that. This is not about blame. You know, but people don't heal with a bitterness of an unforgiving heart. So if you think about your life and say, where are the places I would like to forgive, or I'd like to have healing? I'd like to have healing in my finances. I'd like to have healing in my body affairs. I'd like to have healing in my body. I'd like to have healing in this relationship, that relationship. I'd like to have world peace and all that. People don't heal with the bitterness of an unforgiving heart. So if there's any place where we are not forgiving, just know that that is contributing to us not having the healing that we say we really, really want to heal. Don't you want to heal? Yes, of course. We all want to have greater healing in our life. So we have to saturate ourselves with this notion that to always be in forgiveness is an extraordinarily rich place to be in consciousness. You know, my life only gets better and better when I forgive. That's why you want to do it. And I know people say, I don't want to forgive because then I'm letting them off the hook. I'm condoning their bad behavior. It's none of that. It is not any of that. Snap out of it. You know, you're just saying that so you don't have to do it. It has nothing to do with any of that. You're taking the hook out of you. You're saying this no longer has power or dominion over me. I'm in charge of my own experience, my own consciousness. I'm in charge of how I respond, right? So we say, well, if my circumstances were different, then I could forgive. Then I could let it go. But this was the one thing I could not forgive. First of all, just put a lid on that, okay? Because if you got the one thing I cannot forgive, there's plenty more. There's plenty more, and I guarantee you, unless you forgive, because this is how spiritual principle operates, unless you can forgive that one thing, they knew that would be so hurtful to me. They knew, and they did it anyway. Unless you can forgive that, the rest of it's coming. Yeah, it is, because that's how the universe works. You know, the universe is not set up to coddle us in the areas where we feel wounded or hurt or damaged. The universe is set up for our spiritual growth. So doesn't it make sense that it would make our growth easier? There would be less friction. There would be less potholes and road bumps and all that stuff if we just said, oh, wow, I really need to make progress in this area. I really, really, really need to take the hook out of me and say this that has happened no longer has any dominion over me. You know, I'm not saying it didn't happen, right? So you get to say, yes, I have been through this, but it does not define my life experience now today. See, it would be crazy for us to say, God, I want things to be different, but I don't want to have to do anything different, all right? And isn't that how it goes? You know, I don't want to change my thinking or the way that I act in the world, but I want the world to be different. I want my circumstances to be different. Why doesn't that work? Well, I can't say to the universe, I want a life of love and tremendous abundance, and yet I still want to make sure I get to hold on to all these loveless places from my past. One cancels out the other. Do we see that? One cancels out the other. So what it comes down to is that if I'm all judgy and I withhold love, all right, maybe this is not true for you, okay? Because I just know there's going to be an endless barrage here. But I want to say, for me, what it comes down to is that if I'm all judgy and I am not loving, I'm wrong. You know? That's what we came here to figure out as spiritual beings. You know? That yes, people may behave badly. You can almost count on it, can't you? You know, that people are often unconscious, they're rude, they say stupid things. There's a lot of people on the world, and everybody is evolving at their own rate. So years ago, I had this wonderful old practitioner. I just loved her. And I went to her one day, and I was complaining about somebody. Oh, and then they did this, rah, 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 and then they did this, and it makes me so mad, rah, 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 and they did this, and they did that, and they did this, and I did that. And I probably ranted for probably most of our hour together. And she just sat there, just smiling and nodding, and, you know, I felt like she was really encouraging me in telling the whole thing, you know? And I did. I just got so into it. I maybe even embellished a little to impress her with how bad my situation was. And finally she looked up at me and she said, "Dear, are you through?" And I thought, yeah, yes I am. And she went, "Good. Now, tell me, dear, do you like everything that you do?" I'm like, well, no. She says, well, then it makes sense you're not going to like everything everybody else does either. Now, can we get past that? And you know, honestly, I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I could because I don't know about you, but I had such a strong idea about how people just needed to be. And if they would just be the way I knew they needed to be, then everything would be great in the universe. I mean, I was so committed to my rightness in this situation, you know, because I do love to be right. I really do. I admit. I really, really love to be right. But remember, in Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, one of his agreements is don't take it personally. See, and we want to take everything really, really personal, don't we? I know I do. Because we say, well, but they did blah, blah, blah. They said XYZ. You know, you can just fill in the blank. They did this to me. Now, that may be accurate on the level of the earth plane, I understand. But however, as long as we hold on to blame, our ability to have healing is canceled out. Do you understand that? As long as we got a blame going on, that cancels out our ability to have healing. And so we have to ask ourselves, would I rather have heal, or is blaming someone else just so darn juicy for me? It's just so good, you know, that I'm willing to wait for my life to be healed, because I just want to keep telling people how bad this is. Right? See, I think we can completely disagree with someone with love. I can disagree with you with love. We can have love in our hearts, and we can respect other people, and we can completely disagree with them. All right, chocolate lovers in the room. Yep, here we go. Yeah. Vanilla lovers in the room. Yeah, also good. Strawberry lovers in the room. Yes, very good. Coffee. Yes, very good. Pistachio. Yes, it goes on and on. Chunky monkey. Yes, Cherry Garcia. It goes on and on and on. Right? We're all different, and it's okay. Isn't it wonderful that we live in a big, abundant universe with such variety that what particularly suits us, we can actually have that? Now, look, on a bad day, I think Cherry Garcia is the incarnation of God. I do. Do you know what I mean? It's Ben and Jerry's ice cream, Cherry Garcia. It's cherry-flavored ice cream with cherries in it and these big hunks of chocolate. It is really good. I mean, sometimes I have found that to be absolutely medicine. Yes, it is a healing elixir of God's love manifested on earth for me. I know that. But not everybody responds to the same healing elixir. Isn't that great? That there are those people who say, no, it's Chunky Monkey. It is Chunky Monkey. I'm here to tell you. Now, I know if you haven't had that, you've got to go out and try that. But because that is also a wonderful demonstration of God's love. You've seen those T-shirts that say, "Beer is proof that God loves us." Well, but that was not so accurate for me. Food that I like is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. That's my T-shirt, you know. So I think it's important for us to know we can disagree with someone, and that doesn't mean we cast them out of our heart. We can have a completely different view of how something transpired, how it went down, what they said, what they did. We may see things completely differently. I know this is very present in our culture today, because people tell me about it all the time, that they have these huge disagreements with members of their family about how they see things. And I think our mistake is that because we disagree, we close our heart. You know, so we can completely disagree with another person, chocolate or vanilla, you know, and still have love in our hearts and respect for them. Now, I can deny that things that are happening in the world around me, that these are the ultimate reality. Yes, because science of mind teaches us when I change at the level of cause, which is my thinking, then the things out here will start to be different. So what I notice is now, because I feel like things are speeding up. You know, didn't this year go by fast? I mean, it went by really. Now, I know I said that probably the year before, and probably the year before that, but it does really seem like things are really, really speeding up. And so I think this necessitates that we find for ourselves, it won't be the same for everybody, but we have to find an empowering meaning in everything that happens. You know? Otherwise, we miss getting the value out of it. If we don't find an empowering meaning out of everything that happens, we will be disempowered. You know, so I pull into the parking lot and I do my little parking treatment. And you know, sometimes I'm so on because I get a space really close to the door. And then other days, I have to park as far away as I can be and still be in the same city. Did my prayer not work? No, I don't think so. I think what I've been able to do is find an empowering meaning in, well, I didn't get a place up close. What does that mean? It means God's saying, move your butt. That's what it means. God's saying, you need a walk today. That's why. You know, it's not all supposed to be easy all the time. I think that's a myth that we've created, that everything should just be easy and accommodate me all the time, and my feathers should never be ruffled, and there should always be rock star parking and things. Well, maybe if that works for you, you know, but all over the world, you know, People right now, see, if I think about my situation and my circumstances, we think about yours, we can always come up with a reason. But people all over the world right now are loving. Isn't that incredible? When you think about it, no matter what's going on in our life, there are people who are falling in love every single day. Isn't that fantastic? I just love that. Like every day, there are people all during the day who are building their families and having babies, and this new little being comes into their life to love. So no matter how bad things are, in people's lives, it seems to me that there's always the expansion of love. I mean, that is actually, to me, I think that's God in action. That love is always, always, always happening. So the event at this time of year, I think, is really for more of the real us to show up. And I do realize, we're not nearly as sophisticated as we think we are. If we don't heal, we take the pain that we feel and we inflict it on other people as a way to try and get rid of it and make ourselves feel a little bit better. And we actually know now that actually doesn't work, right? We understand that. That doesn't work. That's a very temporary solution. So if I contribute, or if I continue to make it okay to retaliate, I'm not focused on the greater good. And see, part of becoming conscious is that there's an aspect of our being that's always thinking about the greater good. There's a part of us that's always praying for a peaceful world, for happy people, for everybody to have their needs met. And yeah, I get it. Everybody's pain is real to them. And yet I also get it that people value different things. But Jack Kornfield, a wonderful meditation teacher, said, a greatness of heart is the capacity to live in the present. To not be way, way, way back in our past or projecting way, way, way ahead in the future. But a greatness of heart is the capacity to live in the present. In this now moment, right now, it's all okay. Is everything the way I want it to be? No, it's not. But in this moment, everything is okay. I think about the terrorist activity that we've seen and experienced in recent months, recent years. And I ask myself, were those perpetrators born to kill? And I think, no. Somebody got to them early on. In my career, I have probably done over 100 baby blessings over the years, and I love to do them. I really, really love it. They are really sweet. They're really fun. I have never, ever done one of those baby blessings where somebody brings their newborn little boy or girl or both to the ceremony, and I've got the white rose and my water, and I'm going to do the whole do the whole thing, I've never looked at one of those babies and said, oh, this one is going to be trouble. This one came in to hate. This one came in to really stir stuff up. No. So I asked, how can I be a part of creating a world, or what is my part in creating a world where hate could not get a hold of someone? And so in the science of mind, this is a very personal teaching. The science of mind, it comes back to, okay, to rid the earth of hatred, we have to face any hatred, any unforgiveness in our own hearts. So it's a sifting through, it's an examining at a deeper level. Years ago, there was this movie, Helter Skelter, about the Manson murders. This is a wonderful topic for church, isn't it? That's great. But if in that movie, the Manson character says, what's he say? Every time you turn your back on someone, that's who I am. I thought that was incredibly powerful. You say, well, how does God let there be a Charles Manson? And the answer from that movie essentially is, every time we turn our back on someone, that's how a person like that gets created. Mm-hmm. And so I think, well, so it's not necessarily a physical turning of our back, but every time we close our heart to someone who thinks different than us, every time we see someone and the predominant energy emanating from us is not an energy of blessing, of raising them up, of lifting them, of knowing they're a perfect child of God right where they are, going through everything they're going through, does not make them anything less a part of God. I was been thinking about this, and I think, the things that we remember the most, I think, are the people who have been really kind to us. If you think about that through your life, there have been people all along the way who've been really kind to us. And I would hold that that is one of the key things that really makes a difference in our life. So I want you to think about that. Who made a difference for you along the way? Think about that. And, in this wonderful season that we are entering into, it would be great to, send them a card, or if they're not here anymore, say a little prayer for them. I heard somebody say, and I don't remember who, I'm sorry, but I heard somebody say, youth is when you learn, and age is when you understand. Youth is when you learn, and age is when you understand. And I think, wow, this is the thing. When we are young in mind, we think that we are justified in any behavior that may be less than our best self or our most loving self. But with age, the understanding that comes is I cannot afford to not be loving because that limits me and the good of God in my life. We're all here to be an instrument of God's love. I absolutely believe that's so. What a great season for us to play. Let's pray. So we turn our attention inward now for a moment to just remember that right here, the fullness, the allness of God's Spirit is. That we are surrounded and filled with God's light, God's love, God's healing energy is the truth about each and every one. And so as we join in consciousness, I just speak this word for us that whatever seems to block us, whether it's known or unknown, it doesn't matter. If there's something in consciousness that is not contributing to the greater good of our life, then we let it go right now. That I claim for each and every one of us that we are willing to play at a greater level than ever before, and we take the hook out, that hook of where we've been unforgiving, and we say, this has no power over me, this has no dominion over me. I am so interested in seeing how big, how good, how loving, how creative my life can be, that I'm willing to go with this idea that there are no opinions in the realm of truth. I just want to know my oneness with God. So we include in our prayer today family members, friends, loved ones. We say God is right where they are. We let our prayer be a blessing in the world so that the energy that emanates out from this sanctuary is a healing salve that touches the entire earth and all people on it. We bless our church. We bless all churches everywhere, synagogues, temples, mosques, ashrams, all paths to God. And I'm absolutely certain that we are blessed by being together in consciousness today. So with a full heart, I give thanks and I release this word, and so it is. Together we all say,